Good morning, faithful. Saturday morning. We got some news dropping, some breaking news, actually. If you guys haven't heard the news yet, 49ers kicker Robbie Gould will test free agency, and he will not be kicking with the 49ers in 2023. So it's unfortunate news. Adam Schefter broke the news this morning, about a half an hour ago. It's very unfortunate because he's been nothing but amazing for the 49ers of this tenure with us. He's just been a great veteran, a great clubhouse guy, one of the captains over the last couple of years. It's crazy to hear that Robbie Gould won't be back. And John Lynch the other day did mention that they are going to be looking at, kickers in the scouting combine, this week. So he's definitely prepping to make sure they're getting a guy, maybe Moody from Michigan. I mean, he's probably the best kicker in the college football ranks right now that's coming into the draft. So that's a guy. But man, Robbie Gould, let's just talk about him real quick. He's played so well for the 49ers. It's like you don't even have to think about the kicker because Robbie Gould's there. He's solid. He's just a guy that's going to come in and do his job. He never missed a kick in the playoffs for the 49ers. He'd had a lot of clutch kicks. You go back to the Green Bay game and that clutch kick. And after the game, how hyped he was. It's unfortunate to see, a player like Robbie Gould pretty much leave. But hey, he's going to come and ask for a pretty penny. And for a kicker, it may not, to John Lynch, be worth paying him $5-6 million, which he's probably going to request in the market. He deserves it. Absolutely. He's a clutch player, but, he's probably got 2 more years in his NFL career left in him. And he wants to go somewhere and get a little bit of money and maybe be closer to home. He was in Chicago last night watching the Bulls game. He's a Chicago guy, so maybe he stays closer to home or whatnot. But it is the end of the Robbie Gould era for the San Francisco 49ers. It is definitely an unfortunate situation because now the 49ers are going to be scrambling and looking for a kicker in the NFL draft. It sucks. I love Robbie Gould. I think he was a hell of a player. And now we have to scramble for a kicker. And hopefully they get a guy that's reliable. Because you don't want to have to go to that point where you go and have to win a game-winning kick. You have to win a game on a game-winning field goal, and then you miss. Robbie, you knew what you were going to get. You knew he was clutch. And that's the unfortunate situation here. But yeah, Robbie Gould probably looking around big offers right now. Big offers. He's been one of the most consistent clutch performer in the NFL over the last decade, man. So it's unfortunate. Let's see what you guys have to say. JM says, I'm cool with Robbie leaving. Dude's age started to show, and we needed a young leg that can kick past 45 yards. So, yeah, there is an age issue. But the thing is, the 49ers know they can rely on him in the playoffs. And I get it. It's good to go get a young guy, get a guy that could kick those 50-yard field goals. And maybe it will help them, in the future. Because eventually Robbie was going to leave. But I still think he had 2 good years in him. But for the amount of money that he's probably going to request, you go young, just like the 49ers do with every position. So it is one of the things that happens in the NFL. You go out, you test the market, you get paid. And as the team that sees that big player leave, you got to make sure you develop. And there's no position that you don't do it with: quarterback, cornerback, running back, linebacker, and kicker. He wasn't going to play for us forever. So I do like the fact that they're going to have to get a new guy that maybe can be here for a long time. If they can get a nice kicker, like, again, Moody, I think is the guy that you go and get if you're going to draft one. I mean, he is the best kicker in the college rankings. So maybe this guy can go out there and knock 50-yard field goals for a decade for us. And, hey, you never know. But, again, I think the reason I think it's concerning to lose a guy like Robbie, or it's big news, obviously, because he was just so consistent in the playoffs. So many clutch kicks. But I think they can go get a new young kid and develop him up. So shout out to Robbie Gould. Thank you for all the great memories. That man was solid gold. He was as good as gold. Like, I just remember it was playoffs. We got Robbie. He ain't going to miss. But he did kind of get to that point last year where he was missing some kicks in the regular season. There was, like, the Raiders game. I mean, he shanked it really wide right. That was bad. So there were some times where, yeah, his age did show. So, again, it is nice to know that we are getting younger and we're going to get a guy that could be on this team for years to come, right? So an interesting story. It was, noted a couple weeks ago, right? We did talk about this. few weeks ago that Robbie Gould said his kind of decision's going to be made around the NFL Combine. Here we are, NFL Combine, and the news dropped. We found out that he's going to be testing the market, according to Adam Schefter. Now, and John Lynch, again, he did mention the fact that, hey, we're going to go look into some kickers. We got to be, we got to be adapting. We got to make sure we cover all our P's and Q's. I think that right there was the sign that, hey, Robbie might be leaving us. I think that was John just kind of getting us ready and say, Robbie might be going. We have to test the scouting combine to look at these kickers. And I think that right there also was they probably talked to Robbie and said, hey, look, this is kind of what we're looking to pay you. And Robbie's probably told them, like, hey, this is what I want. Come and talk to me later this week. And I think at that moment, John's like, okay, we got to start looking at kickers because we may not realistically be able to get Robbie Gould back. So I feel like if you read all the tea leaves and, listen to John Lynch this week and, you kind of put 2 and 2 together, it kind of makes sense that, okay, Robbie Gould probably talked with John. John told us on Tuesday that they're going to be scouting kickers to make sure they insulate themselves, right, to do their due diligence in finding a kicker. So here we are at the scouting combine, and now we got to look at these kickers. So, let's go get Moody from Michigan, baby. Yeah, Jake Moody, says Steven Reynolds. That's my guy. That's my guy. Nigel says Robbie is clutch in the postseason. He hasn't missed. I agree, and that's the one, that's the one thing that I'm really going to be concerned about losing a guy like Robbie because he was so clutch. You could depend. He was dependable. Clutch kicker. You got to love Robbie for being clutch, man. But, hey, at the end of the day, it's a business. He wants to go get his scratch. He wants to go take care of him. And I love it. I love him for that. And I love that for him. Everything. I wish him nothing but success. Love Robbie Gould. He's been a consummate pro, a great veteran, a great clubhouse leader. Man, this guy was out there, John. He was talking trash to Jalen Ramsey. Kicker that had beef with an all-pro cornerback. You got to love it, man. This guy had personality. He was a leader as the kicker. Now we're going to have a young buck that's going to have to earn his way up. But I do like Jake Moody, Steven. If the 49ers are going to draft a kicker, fire up the Jake Moody highlight, baby. I love that guy. I love Michigan, so that'd be great for us. Niner Faithful says Gould wants to stay close to family in Chicago. I 100% agree with that. He's said it many times in the past. He lives in Chicago. His family's in Chicago. So I think for him, staying in Chicago or close to it would make a lot more sense for him. It's expensive out here in the Bay. And, he did that for a couple of years. He got his money out of it. He really helped us for many years. And I think, though, at this point in his career, he's, towards the tail end. He probably wants to stay somewhere closer to home and end up at that point because he's going to retire in 2 years after this contract's pretty much done. So it makes sense for him to stay home, So, yeah, 100% I agree with that. It's going to be weird not to see it's going to be weird not to see Robbie Gould out there, the number 9 out there. It's going to be weird. It's going to be weird to see it. But, hey, I love Robbie, man, and nothing but respect to the guy. Again, he's been a very great professional, and he never missed kicks for us. So, what do you guys think in the comments? Appreciate you guys for hopping in real quick. We just wanted to get this news out there and talk to you about it. It is kind of a time in the 49ers situation. News is going to start dropping. We're going to find out we're losing players. We're going to find out we're gaining players. This is that time of the season where you got to say your goodbyes and you can't, let your feelings get involved too much. It is a weird time as a fan because you get attached to these players, So, it's unfortunate as a fan, but you got to understand the business side of things. That's why over the last couple of years, I just don't get too attached to players because I know at any time they can leave, they can get hurt. Things happen. It's a business and it's unfortunate, but as a fan, it does hit you differently sometimes. So young Montana says he never wanted to play in San Francisco. Lynch had to have a meeting with him and double his contract. Yeah, that was one thing too, a couple of years back, right? They gave him the franchise tag, and he was threatening to leave, and they had to go and give him a big contract to stay because I think you're right. He wanted to go closer to home. But, hey, if you're going to pay him more money, why wouldn't he stay, right? So he got more money that he probably would have went somewhere else, and he stayed. He got the bag, So I don't think it wasn't that he wanted – I don't think that he didn't want to play in San Francisco. I think he wanted to be closer to home, but they incentivized – they gave him the incentive to stay with the Niners in the Bay and said, hey, look, we'll make it worth your while. Stay here. You'll get more money because obviously, too, the cost of living in California is very expensive. You have to make it worth someone's while to live here. It's expensive. So if you're going to get more money, then okay, maybe I'll stick around. And it's a good winning team. He's a quality player. He's a veteran. The players in the clubhouse love him. So I think it made sense for him to stay because he got the money. If he wouldn't have got that extra money from John Lynch in this front office, I 100% agree, Montana, that he would have been long gone a while back. So I guess the writing was on the wall a few years ago when he wanted the extra money. I mean, he was threatening to hold up. We had a kicker threatening to hold out. So you got to love that, man. Still have Brian Schneider, who experienced with Steven Hauschunka and Jason Myers. Make a kicker real good. Yep. Big reason why no players want to sign with the San Francisco Giants. California taxes are crazy. That's one reason, you're right, where sometimes players look into these things and they'll get a lot of money, but your money doesn't stretch as much in California compared to, places like in Texas and other places that don't have state tax. So it is something to keep an eye on whenever the 49ers go into free agency is state tax, man. Taxes kill you, and it may detract someone from coming to the Bay. But obviously the 49ers have a strong team, a strong coach, and a great front office. So that can kind of make up, and their locker room is really, really, really amazing. So that all those things can kind of make up for, the lower money you end up making because of the taxes. But you got to really pitch someone, and you really got to win people over, because why would someone, unless they're just chasing the bag and they're going somewhere for a lot of money and it's like a trash team, right? They're going to, like, no disrespect, Houston or something. And although they could turn it around with D'Amico, but I'm using them as an example because they were a bad team, last place team. You go to Houston, you're just trying to get paid, right? Whereas if you go to a 49ers, you actually have a realistic chance of winning. So the logistics are always interesting. So Bunless says he's been trying to leave for years. I mean, he's been trying to leave for years, but the Niners keep paying him the money. This year, John Lynch says, yeah, we ain't paying you anymore. You can leave. You can finally leave. We're going to go get a younger guy, a guy that's 20 years younger than you. Robbie Gould's in his 40s. He is in his 40s. I'm getting close to that age. You get a little tired. Your hamstrings get a little tight. Maybe the 49ers, let's get a younger kicker that's not going to maybe get hurt. Maybe got a little bit more longevity, because Robbie Gould, you're only going to squeeze out 2 more years out of that man. You get a kicker like Jake Moody, you got at least a decade of greatness with this guy. So, oh, man. But, yeah, are we drafting a kicker with the first kick, says Unlimited Joker? I don't think they're going third-round kicker. If they go third round and use one of their third-round picks to get a kicker, 49ers Twitter is going to go crazy. They're going to go crazy. They're going to go crazy. Y'all can go wild. I do think the 49ers will get a kicker somewhere in the draft. I think Jake Moody is the guy. I want Jake Moody, man. This is my new draft. So Draft Crush, officially announcing my Draft Crush. It's Jake Moody, kicker of the Michigan Wolverines. Yo, check it out. The first ever kicker Draft Crush, baby. Let's go, Jake Moody. We got to start getting the highlights out. Yo, Jake Moody is officially the Draft Crush. Forget a cornerback. Forget any of these players. I want Jake Moody. That's the guy. Replace Robbie Gould with a good young kicker that could kick it from 50 yards. Go get Jake the Snake Moody. This guy's clutch. He's young. He has a leg on him. He's consistent. I love it. Let's go, Jake Moody. Draft Crush season. That's it. We've announced it. Draft Crush is Jake Moody. Let's go, baby. Let's go, man. I love it. Anyways, y'all have a good day. Again, Robbie Gould expected to test the free agency market, and he will not be playing for the San Francisco 49ers anymore. Appreciate you, Robbie Gould. You were an amazing kicker. We love you, but it's time to get younger. Jake Moody season. Let's get it loaded. Let's get the hype going, baby. I love it. Niner Faithful says, could 49ers consider Chase McLaughlin? He's a free agent. He definitely can be considered. They're gonna look at the free agency market, obviously, first and foremost. But I think they want to go young and get a young drafted kicker because it's cheaper. And the 49ers have to save money somehow. They don't have all the money in the world. You got to remember, cap space is a real thing. The 49ers cap space is going to be hit by players they're going to re-sign, Nick Bosa, all that good stuff. So I think it makes a lot of sense to draft a kicker. Can they go get a free agent kicker? Yeah, they can. But it's smarter to go and draft a kicker and develop them, in my eyes. It's going to be a lot cheaper to go get a 5th, 6th, 7th, maybe an undrafted kicker in the draft. That's the way I think the 49ers are going to do it. They love to use the draft to bolster their team. So why not get a kicker out of the draft. You're going to save a lot of money. Robbie Gould's probably going to get $5-6 million a year, where you can get a kicker for a couple $100K. That's the big difference. It's a huge difference, astronomical difference. Go in the draft, get a young buck, Jake Moody. That's the move. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. I love you. 49er Jeff says that's a key loss. It's a huge loss because he's a veteran and he's clutch. But again, it's a business, and I understand it, and it's unfortunate. And this is the time of the year where you're going to lose players. It does suck, it does suck. But every year we lose a few guys. We lose a few guys. And last year we lost, Lake and Tomlinson. We lost DJ Jones, And this year we're going to lose Robbie Gould. We're going to lose a couple other players. But right now we officially know we're losing Robbie Gould. So appreciate y'all. Anyways, y'all have a good rest of your day. Happy weekend. Happy weekend to you. I didn't expect all this news on a Saturday. I was at work, and I was like, oh, let's go. We're going to talk Baker Mayfield a little bit later also, because that's a guy that 49ers reportedly have interest. I dropped a video on that. We posted about that later, but we got more live to do later in the day and later this week. You guys have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy the weekend. I love y'all. Have a good day.